I did get a hold of my Uncle Daddy. That's what I called him because I didn't know if he was my uncle or if he was my dad. I even used that with clients today. I said, I need you to call your Uncle Daddy. I don't know if this man's your uncle or if he's your dad, but we're going to have to find out,
So you
right?
just cold called him.
You betcha. I'm fearless. I do not care. I don't know if you know about that girl, Melody. I can't not remember her last name, but there's this huge trend going on with the I Do Not Care Club.
I love it.
I
Yes.
do too. I have been part of that club before it was ever created. I do not care. When I got a hold of my Uncle Daddy, I had tears just streaming down my face. I didn't say anything, and I'm not someone that cries. But this man started talking to me, and I was just like, oh, this is my person. These are my people. I completely understand the way that he speaks, and he talked about our ancestors. And I still at this point did not know if he was my dad, because here's the twist. There's always a twist in almost every story. I said, I recently found out my dad isn't my dad, and I think that you are either my father or my uncle. And he said, honey, what's your mama's name? And so I told him, and he's like, I know your mom. And that's when the tears started. I thought, oh my God, I'm talking to my dad. He's living. I have a living father. That's just what's going through my mind, right? And I have tears streaming down my face. I couldn't help myself because I had such pent up emotion for a few weeks until I figured this out. He's like, when did you say your birthday was again? And I told him, and he's like, well, I was married at that time. I had just gotten married in 1968, and I did not, you know, I wasn't with your mom at that time. I was with her before my marriage. And I'm like, well, interesting. He's like, and don't think bad about your mom. She had a relationship with my brother after
Oh,
me.
well, that's nice of him to defend your mom.
He did. Well, let me tell you, he had a lot of questions about my mom. Like, how's your mom doing? Like, he was like flirty. And I'm like, Uncle David. But anyway, it turns out he was my uncle, and his
Oh.
brother that passed away was my dad. My biological dad, his brother was 43 when he passed away. And he did pass of the same thing as my father that raised me. So lung cancer is a real thing.
Oh.
So he died at 43 of lung cancer. And he left 5 boys. So his wife, did I get that right? 6 boys. No, 5 boys. Oh my goodness. Anyway, there's a bunch of boys, and they all have the middle name Lee, Lee. And guess what my middle name is?
No way.
It sure is. It's Lee, Leigh. It's the female version.
Those synchronicities are so crazy. Names are crazy. I cannot believe that that's the case. So now you have 5 new brothers.
I do. I do. Actually, I know it's 6 because my father also had an outside child, another
Oh.
boy, during all of that melee. And do you know that my biological father was married to 2 women named Judy, and my mother's name is Judy. He was with 3 different Judys.
That name must have a certain type of person that goes with
Well,
it.
you sure wouldn't get it wrong in the middle of the night, would you?
You could yell Judy and be okay.
You could. You could. Father was gone, but his wife was still alive. And when I talked to my uncle and he realized that I was his brother Freddie's child, he said, do you mind? He asked permission. Do you mind if I reach out to my sister-in-law, Freddie's wife, and see if she knows about this? And I said, sure, no problem. And here's the clincher. She knew about me my whole life. I had no idea. So we get together, right? And she's like, I have got the answers that you've been searching for your whole life. And I said, Judy, I just found out a few weeks ago. I have not been searching my whole life, but please tell me what you know. She said, well, when your mother was divorcing your father, so I was about 12 years old, she got a hold of my husband one night while we were laying in bed. She called this house and I answered the phone, and she said she wanted to talk to Freddie. And I said, okay. Fred runs down the stairs, trips and falls when he runs down the stairs. I'm imagining this in my head. Picks up the phone, the extension downstairs, and she says, Fred, I just wanted to let you know that we have a little girl. Her name is Laura, and I am divorcing my husband. Like he's supposed to drop his whole existence and say, oh my God, I got a
Going
kid.
back. I'm going to the other Judy.
That's right. And what he said was, I am so sorry, Judy, but I am dying of cancer and I don't have long to live. And I don't want you to tell her that she has a new dad right now and all of a sudden he's going to die too, you
Mhm.
know? Because she's losing one dad to divorce and then I'm going to die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was going to die. And he did die very shortly thereafter because I wanted to know why this had been such a lie. And my mother's alive and she's not talking. But his widow did tell me. She said, I didn't know who you were, who your mother was. I didn't know where to look. She said, I thought about hiring a private detective to find you after Fred died, but I still had no information. So I do have a little bit of my story as far as he did know about me. Mom
Mhm.
did send him pictures. She said that after dad died, it was only a few weeks after that phone call that he died. Like that was
Oh,
it. He was really on the very last moments of his life. She said that she found pictures of me in his safe at work because he owns a business. And there was a floor safe, and in that floor safe was pictures of me at about
wow.
that age, 12 years old. And I said, you didn't happen to save him, did you? And she didn't, of course. Through the years and through the moves,
Yeah.
she lost him. I mean, I was 48 when I found this out. He died when I was 13.
I know parents think they're trying to protect children, but I think children are adaptable and
Yeah.
secrets fester. And very rarely have I heard a situation, in my opinion, where a child shouldn't be told.
I would agree. I would agree. I have mixed emotions about this. Obviously, I want to know. I want to be kind to my mother because I know she had multiple issues, but there's no excuse for this. I'm not going to let her off. There is no excuse for this. After I turned 18, after I turned 20, after I turned 30, at some point you can come to me and say, Laura, I just wanted to let you know that Charles wasn't your dad, that this is your dad and this is your truth. We had troubles within our marriage, or we decided we wanted to have a family and this is the way that we went about it. I mean, I just wanted to be mature adults about this. And to this day, I am just gaslit and blamed for being a troublemaker within the family. Now, my mom doesn't know that the other kids know that their dad is not their dad. They've chosen not to tell her. Even though I run an organization that has identified 8,000 biological parents, and my mom doesn't realize that I run this organization or anything about DNA Angels because she has mental health issues. She's not in this world. I don't know how to describe that. She's allowed to live on her own because she can balance her checkbook, but she does not live in the here and now. She is like out there. She's definitely in a delusioned state of mind at all times.
She lives in her own sense of reality. I get it.
She does. She does. And I have to be very careful when I talk to her. The crazy thing is, Cara, that I went down there for Christmas one year after I made my discovery and had some pictures on my phone, and I was showing her these pictures and she's like, well, who are those boys? And I said, those are Fred Leslie's boys. And she said, well, I know Freddie.
Yes, you do, Mom.
Yep. Yep. And she says, his sister died of uh she had an allergic reaction to anesthesia when they were doing like this simple process. And I said, really? That's so interesting, Mom. Did you remember when I was 17 and I underwent laparoscopic surgery, exploratory surgery to see what was going on in my intestines? And I woke up in ICU with 3 IVs going full bore in me to reduce that fever because I had a reaction to anesthesia. I mean, that's when it hit me. In that moment, I said, that is a genetic disposition. You get that from a parent. I could have
So,
died.
yeah, I always am so shocked at parents who they just can't add two plus two at a certain point. Sometimes, I mean, I don't know if you think it was malicious. I think they're just like, that's my child, that's the dad, and they just forget about the genetics part most of the time. I mean, sometimes it's intentional because they're protecting themselves, but oftentimes it's that they've told themselves a certain reality so long, they believe it. And we are the ones who suffer because we don't have correct medical information.
That's true. And then I want to bring up another thought that I had because I observe so many stories that come
Yeah.
together from donor conception to adoptees, someone who never knew who their father was, and these DNA surprises. I think it's about ownership too. This is my child. I
Yeah.
make the rules. You do not get to decide.
Yeah.
It is about ownership. And of
It's
course, then now we're into this ownership issue. And well, now I can't take back this whole fantasy that I've created around
Mhm.
this. I see so many parents not be able to co-parent because mom thinks that she has more of a right to this child than the father does. And that is simply not a fact. It does not matter how father treated you.
right.
That is a completely separate relationship that the father has with the child.
I always say, ask mom to talk to dad. They're like, oh, well, my mom's going to reach out to the person I discovered was my dad. I'm like, no, you need to do it. Don't have anybody else do that who has their own issues with the situation. It's interesting you bring that up because in donor conception, it's under chattel law, which is stuff. When you make a contract for egg, sperm, or an embryo, it's under chattel law, which I just find crazy because we're talking about humans. Back just a little bit. You were talking about being in the bed for 3 days. When did you call mom? Did you call mom?
Never,
Never?
never. No, well, I take that back. I did call her, but I didn't call her until after I had confirmation. I had figured out that my dad really wasn't my dad. So I called my brother immediately, my little brother, and he said, "Yeah, I'll spit for you, no problem." That's crazy. I don't believe you. And then I called my dad's sister that was still alive, and I said, "Have you heard anything about this?" She said, "No, and I would love to take a test. I've always wanted to." She's the one that turned me on to genealogy. So I said, "I will pay for your test." Of course, she did not come back related to me, and he came back as my half brother.
So how do you go from one, because you said you grew up with three siblings. So the
To
other two.
10. I'm one of 11.
So you find out this one brother you grew up with has a different dad. And
Yep.
he did he want to know who his dad was?
He did. Well,
Okay.
his first thing was Charles is always going to be my father. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if you figure out who it is, let me know. And so I did figure it out. And as a matter of fact, he was the only one who still to this day has a living father. However, his father had a major stroke and is unable to communicate. So I can't talk to him. To get the story from him, and his living wife is not interested in anything to do with this situation. 4 strikes we're out because we all have either dead or disabled fathers.
So what made your other two siblings decide to go ahead and test? Where they're like, oh, we've got to be Charles's children?
Well, I wanted to know. So my little sister did it. She's not his kid either. And my oldest brother did not test, but I tested his child, and he's not either. My oldest brother doesn't want anything to do with it. He is absolutely in denial. Don't talk to me about this, right?
Everybody has a different dad.
We do. We all have a different dad.